everyone. My name is Deborah Leong, and as you know that we are studying this book, Being a Disciple, Counting the Real Cost. So today we are going to study week number 2. And first we will do a brief review of what we studied the last week. So in the last lesson, we learned that Jesus was choosing his 12 disciples. And he told them that he is going to make them into fishers of men. And then we see Jesus giving them very specific instructions as to what is going to happen to them. That they would have to go before courts and before magistrates. They would be scourged in the synagogues. And whatever would happen to them, he had already warned them about it. But he told them, do not fear. He said to them, do not fear. Fear him, that is God, who can destroy both body and soul in hell. And finally he tells them that a man's enemies will be the members of his own household. And so he laid before them everything that they would face as his disciples. And then today we are going to look at week number 2. And as we study week number 2, we are going to see that when Jesus called men and women to follow him, what did he expect from them? And was it reasonable? And today we are going to look at the cost of following him. So the first passage that we are going to look at is found in Mark chapter 8, verse 34 to 38. And here we will underline, Jesus is speaking in this passage, therefore mark with a cross every pronoun referring to him, such as he, me, my, and his. Mark disciples by underlining it and putting an arrow at the end of the line. Mark anyone with a big A. And he summoned the crowd with his disciples and said to them, if anyone wishes to come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? For what will a man give in exchange for his soul? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of him when he comes in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. So let's look at some of the questions under discussion. The first question that we see, to whom is Jesus speaking in these verses? And when we look at verse number 34, we see that Jesus is speaking to the crowd and to his disciples. Question number 2. When Jesus said, if anyone wishes to come after me, the Greek tense of the verb come implies continuous or habitual action. Jesus wasn't talking about a casual walk. In light of this and what you've learned about a disciple, do you think Jesus was talking about being his disciple when he used this phrase? Give the reason for your answer. So when we have studied this passage, we see Jesus says to them, if anyone wishes to come after me. And so come means to follow. So the disciples are the ones who will follow and who are ready to give up all to follow him. The next question is, if a person chose to come after Jesus, what specific things must he or she do? Put a number 1, 2, 3 with a circle around it near each of the points in the text. See the example in verse 34. So, what is the first thing we have to do? In verse 34, he says, he must deny himself. That's the first thing that we have to do if we want to be a disciple of Jesus. And the second thing is take up his cross. And the third is follow me. So these are the three things that we have to do if we want to follow Jesus. Now I'm going to look and read on page number 15. We have an insight box, and it's explaining a little bit about the cross and about the word come and follow. The cross was a torturous instrument of execution used by the Romans for slaves and foreigners. All Roman citizens were exempted from crucifixion, which was considered a disgraceful way to die. Those who were to be crucified were often required to carry the cross, or at least its crossbars, to the place of crucifixion. The site of crucifixion was usually along a well-traveled road where criminals became a public spectacle. Their humiliation by such a death could be seen by all. The verb translated as follow is in the present tense and denotes habitual or continuous action. So once you deny yourself and take up your cross, the habit of your life will be to follow Jesus continuously. So it's not a one-time thing. Once you decide to follow Jesus, it's a continuous action that goes on throughout our life. And that is what Jesus is wanting from us. We turn to page 16 and we have a few more questions that we have to answer. When Jesus called the disciples to take up their cross, what in essence was he saying to them? He was telling them that they have to be aware that they will have to suffer shame and humiliation for Jesus. The next question: how does denying yourself and taking up your cross relate to losing your life for Jesus' sake and the Gospels? If we are willing to suffer shame, only then we will be ready to give up our lives for Jesus. If we are not ready to suffer shame, so we cannot follow him. Because remember, he says, be ready to take up your cross. And a cross signified shame. A cross signified hardships and trials which come in our life when we begin to follow Jesus. By denying yourself, you are giving your life to God. And when your life is in God's will, you will not mind giving up your life for him. So it's a strong price that we have to pay. It's a heavy price. Are we willing to give up all for the Lord? The next question: and what about those who refuse to follow Jesus because of the cost? What do you learn about them from this text? And when we look at verse number 38, we see that Jesus will also be ashamed of him when he comes in his glory. He will also be ashamed of them. Who will the Son of Man be ashamed of when he comes in his glory with the holy angels? And why? What were they ashamed of? And where? So we know that those who were ashamed of him and his words, because despite all he has done for them, they are still unwilling to follow him. So he will be ashamed of them when he comes. Stop, the next question says, stop and think about where this person was ashamed of Jesus and of his words. What kind of people's praise and approval did this person choose over Jesus Christ? Stop and think of this when you are tempted to play the coward before the world instead of standing for Jesus Christ and his word. So when we are ashamed of Jesus in front of our friends, in front of our colleagues, in front of our family members, we don't want to share about his word, we don't want to tell about him. So Jesus is also going to be ashamed of us. When we will be cowards and when we will be ashamed of him, so he will be ashamed of us. Next question on page number 17. Do you believe Jesus requires the same today for those who desire to come after him? Or is this for one elite group of believers? No, my dear friends. It is not for some elite group. And it was not only for the 12 disciples, but it is the same for us as well. When we decide to follow Jesus, we have to be ready to pay the price and to suffer shame for him. Is there anything that keeps you from denying yourself, and is it worth it? So think about it. What keeps you from denying yourself? And I think it is fear. Fear of being persecuted. Fear of being rejected. Fear of having to give up the pleasures of this life, which are sometimes more appealing to us than following Jesus. The next question, if Jesus was standing before you today saying the same thing, how would you respond to an invitation like this? And that is an application question for you to think and for you to answer. So the next passage that we're going to look at is Luke chapter 14, verse 25 to 27. In this passage, we will mark every occurrence of disciple, and we will put a cross over every reference to Jesus. He is the one speaking in this passage. Now large crowds were going along with him, and he turned and said to them, "If anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple." So here we will mark me. So the first question under discussion on page number 17. To whom is Jesus speaking in this passage? So when you look at verse 25, we come to know that he is speaking to the large crowds who were following him. And the next question says, what is the subject? So here he is discussing the condition of being a disciple, who to love the most. Let's turn to page number 18 in your books and see the questions on page number 18. What are the conditions Jesus lays down for being a disciple? So, after studying the passage, we know that we have to love God more than our family, and second most important thing is that we have to be ready to carry our cross and to follow Jesus. Now there's something that is written in this passage which is quite disturbing, and I want to clarify what Jesus is trying to say in verse number 26. He says, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Is Jesus really talking about hating over here? When we know that the whole Bible is speaking about love. And if God is love, and He tells us to love not only one another, but also our enemies, do you think that Jesus is saying that in order to be His disciple, you must literally hate your parents and your mate and your children and relatives? So the question is here, asking here, give reasons for your answer. So the answer is no. Jesus is not asking us to hate our relatives and friends, our parents, but here He is telling us that the first priority must be to Jesus. Because we have to love. In the Bible, it is written that you have to love your neighbor as yourself. And when Jesus is saying to love your neighbor, so He cannot ask us then to hate our parents or to hate our friends and our relatives. Could it be that hate here is being used as hyperbole, a deliberate exaggeration for effect or emphasis, that our love for others should be like hatred in comparison of our love for God? Our love for God has to be more than our parents, more than our friends, more than our relatives, more than everyone. Our love for God must be more. Only then we will be able to follow Him the way that He wants us to. What does it mean to hate your own life? Same question is repeated again. It means to love God more than yourself or your body. Next question says, what does this show you about a disciple's allegiance to Jesus Christ? So we can see from this passage that we have learnt and read that he must give first priority in his life to Jesus. The next question, does all this seem like too high a cost to you for following Jesus? No, it's not too high a cost, because we will receive eternal life in exchange. So we will go on, and our next passage is found in Luke chapter 14, verse 28 till 33 on page number 19. And here we will mark any reference to Jesus who is speaking with a cross, and we will mark every occurrence of the word disciple. For which one of you, when he wants to build a tower, does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see if he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who observe it begin to ridicule him, and saying, "This man began to build and was not able to finish? Or what king, when he sets out to meet another king in battle, will not first sit down and consider whether he is strong enough with 10,000 men to encounter the one coming against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So then, none of you can be my disciple who does not give up all his own possession. And here we will mark the word disciple. So the first question under discussion is, Jesus is speaking to the multitudes and he has just told them what they are to do if they are going to come to him to be his disciples. Now, what is he urging them to do in verses 28 till 33? And why? So, when we have read this passage, we have seen that he is talking about counting the cost. When you begin to build a house, the first thing that you have to do is you have to count the cost. Or even if you're going into war, the first thing that they have to do is to count the cost, whether that the army that I'm taking and going to fight this war, is it sufficient? Do I have enough people with me to fight this battle? So in these verses, he is telling them that you have to count the cost before you start any work. And so the same it is to follow him, that you have to first sit down and count the cost of being his disciple. The next question, are they to make the decision about following him lightly? Is it a light decision? Why not? What must anyone do who wants to follow Jesus, to be his disciple? Spell it out the way Jesus does in this passage. No, it is not a light decision, because there is a cost. The cost is that you have to deny yourself, you have to take up your cross, and you have to follow Jesus. And so there's shame involved, there's humiliation involved, and there are problems, trials, tribulation. All these things are going to come our way. And so we have to first sit down and decide whether we want to be disciples of Jesus or not. The next question, therefore, in verse 33 is a term of conclusion. What's the conclusion of what Jesus said? What does this tell you about the place Jesus is to have in a disciple's life? So then in verse 33, he says, so then none of you can be my disciple who does not give up all his own possession. So what is Jesus saying here? Very clearly he is telling us that Jesus must have first place in our life if we want to be his disciple, and we have to be ready to give up all of our possessions. That means it's 100% commitment to Jesus. So we go on to page number 20, and in page number 20 there is an inside box which I'm going to read. The verb give up in Luke 14 and 33 literally means to say goodbye by departing or dismissing. It means to renounce. In other words, it means that you are willing to hold everything you have in an open hand. If God wants it, he can have it. You may possess something, own it, but it does not possess you. You are willing to let it go if necessary in order to follow Jesus Christ. So let's go on And our next passage is found in Luke 12:51 to 53. And here, Jesus is speaking here, so mark every pronoun that refers to him with a cross. And mark the words division and divided with a slash after the we. And it is written in your book on page number 20. Do you suppose that I came to grant peace on earth? I tell you, no, but rather division. For from now on, 5 members in one household will be divided, 3 against 2 and 2 against 3. They will be divided, father against son and son against father, mother against daughter and daughter against mother, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. So the questions under discussion on page 21. According to these verses, what does Jesus bring among whom? And so you know that there is a division that comes among the family members. Jesus brings a division among the family members. And that is what is written in these verses that we have read. That a father will turn against his son, the son will go against the father, and all this is written in verse number 53. So Jesus is saying that if you decide to follow me, be ready to face division and opposition from your family. Why? The next question says, what would bring division? When one person is following Jesus and others may not be following Jesus, so this brings a division in the family. Do you think it would bring division if one member of the family decided to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, deny himself or herself, take up his or her cross and follow Jesus forever, and the other members didn't want to do that? Yes, of course, it's going to bring division. Because following Jesus is going to bring you into holiness, and it's going to bring you into a life of separation. And your family members may not be able to understand that why you are not doing some of the things that you were doing before. And that is going to bring a division among the family members. The last question, do you know of anyone who experienced opposition or rejection from his or her family after becoming a Christian? It happens all over the world, especially when family members are from a different faith, such as Islam or Hinduism. And we know, we have heard of and read of many stories where people, after they come to know Jesus and decide to follow him, they have to face rejection from their family, and their own family members go against them, and sometimes they have to even leave home and be separate, especially from when they are from a different background and a different faith. So what have we decided and what have we learned today? Let's wrap it up. We have learned that there is a cost to being a disciple, and Jesus has made it very clear in the verses that we have studied today that if you want to be his disciple, you have to be ready and willing to deny yourself, to take up the cross and to follow him. And then he tells us that you will have to face rejection from your family members, your relatives, your friends will go against you because of your faith in Jesus Christ. But we have learned that there is a reward that we will receive. There is a reward, and that reward is life, eternity with Jesus Christ. So that's all from our lesson today, and we will learn some more about being a disciple in our next lesson. Thank you and goodbye.